Hi, it's Mimmi from C-Mimmi-O. Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is a critical one. It's about building a bulletproof crisis communication for your B2B tech company. It's something that most companies really don't want to think about until suddenly it's the only thing everyone is thinking about. Crisis communications. Because in B2B tech, crises happen. Security breaches, system outages, product failures, compliance issues, executive mistakes, vendor failures. In today's connected world, a single issue can escalate globally within just hours. But this is really important. A crisis itself does not automatically destroy trust. It's how you communicate during the crisis that can. It's how you communicate during the crisis that does. Companies that handle crisis best often come out stronger afterwards, because customers are not expecting perfection. They are expecting honesty, accountability, transparency, and action. For me personally, crisis communications boils down to these 4 simple principles. It's about the big 4 A's: acknowledgement, accountability, apology, and action. Those simple 4 things communicate something powerful. We know what happened. We care. We take responsibility, and we're going to fix it. B2B tech companies often operate in this trust-heavy environment. Enterprise customers rely on your systems, your infrastructure, your security, your uptime, your compliance, your reliability. Millions of euros or dollars are depending on your technology functioning properly. And when something goes wrong, the stakes are extremely high. The crisis is not just a technical problem. It can become a relationship problem. Customers immediately will start asking, can we trust this company? Are they transparent? Do they understand the issue? Will they communicate honestly? Will they protect us? And the first few hours matter enormously, because silence it creates panic. Confusion creates speculation. Speculation destroys trust very quickly. Crisis communication is not optional infrastructure, it's strategic infrastructure. Let's dig into those 4 A's of crisis communication. The foundation. The 4 A's are acknowledgement, accountability, apology, and action. They sound simple, but many companies fail at one or more of them. First, acknowledgement. You need to acknowledge what happened quickly. Do not hide. Do not pretend nothing has happened. Do not wait for perfect information before communicating. Customers want to know that you are aware of the issue, even if the investigation is still ongoing. Secondly, accountability. Take responsibility openly. This does not mean accepting legal liability immediately for everything. It means behaving responsibly. Avoid blame shifting. Avoid vague corporate language. Avoid sounding defensive. Then third, apology. If customers are affected, apologize clearly and sincerely. Not we regret any inconvenience, not mistakes may have occurred, but a real apology that matters psychologically because it signals empathy and accountability. Fourth, the action. Explain what you are now doing. What will happen next? What are the remediation steps? What protections are in place? What support is available? What timelines can customers expect? What kind of reimbursements or supplements can there be? Without action, communication becomes really empty. These 4 A's create the emotional foundation of trust during these crisis situations. Very often, companies make the big mistake of building crisis communication systems during the crisis itself. That is too late. Preparation really matters, especially here. Every B2B company should have a crisis communication framework ready before anything goes wrong. That starts with crisis classification. Not every incident is equally severe. You need clear definitions. Low severity, medium severity, high severity, critical severity. You also need categories specific to your business. For example, data breaches, system outages, compliance violations, product failures, vendor disruptions, executive reputation issues, security incidents. And then you need to have stakeholder mapping because different stakeholders need different communication. Not every crisis affects every stakeholder. Enterprise customers will need detailed impact information, partners need customer-facing guidance, employees need internal updates, investors will need business impact clarity, media needs authoritative statements, regulators may need formal reporting. One message will not work for everyone. And again, not every incident affects everyone. So you also need to make sure that you're contacting people in the right order. Have a crisis response team. Every company should also define this crisis response structure in advance, because this confusion inside the company will create worse communication outside the company. A strong crisis response team usually includes a crisis commander. That is typically a senior executive with decision-making authority. A communications lead, usually PR or a communications leadership. A technical lead, someone who deeply understands the technical issue. Legal counsel, customer success, leadership, and HR for internal coordination. Everyone should know their role before the crisis starts, not during it. And companies should actually practice this. Simulation exercises matter because under pressure, people default to whatever system already exists. The first 4 hours are the critical ones. When we're talking about response timing, the first 4 hours after a crisis are incredibly important. In B2B tech, customers expect rapid acknowledgement. That does not mean you need to answer everything immediately. But you will need visibility because a practical sequence often looks something like this. Internal notification first. Employees should not learn about crises from social media. Then customer communication, especially for directly affected customers. Then partner updates, then public statements if necessary, and all of this should happen quickly, not days later, not after endless internal approvals, because silence creates an information vacuum. And what happens to information vacuums? They get filled with speculation. The first message you send should focus on something like acknowledgement, initial impact, what is being investigated, and when updates will come next. Again, here, consistency matters more than perfection early on. You need to be able to also translate technical problems into human communication. And this is something that many tech companies struggle with. They communicate like engineers instead of communicators. But during crises, technical accuracy alone is not enough. You also need clarity. Your audiences will vary. Some stakeholders are highly technical and others are absolutely not. So your communication should work in layers. Start with executive summary. What happened? Who is affected? And what is the business impact? Then provide deeper technical detail for technical audiences. And then provide practical operational guidance. What should customers actually do? Should they take action? Are there workarounds? Expected timelines? Support channels? Good crisis communication translates technical reality into understandable human language without oversimplifying the issue. Okay, then let's move to choosing the right channels. Different crisis levels require different communication channels. For severe incidents, direct communication matters most. Phone calls for major enterprise customers, direct outreach from account managers, emergency email alerts, dedicate status pages, leadership video messages if necessary. For moderate issues, channels may include customer portals, LinkedIn updates, partner portals. And email updates. For smaller issues, blog posts and regular communication channels might be enough. The important thing here is consistency. Customers should not receive conflicting information from different channels. That destroys confidence really quickly. Here's some of the biggest mistakes that companies can make. First, denial. This almost always makes things just worse. The truth always eventually surfaces. And when companies delay acknowledgement, trust just collapses harder afterward. Second, overpromising. This happens constantly in technical crises. Companies announce unrealistic timelines too early. They miss those timelines repeatedly, and that damages credibility and fast. It is much better to communicate uncertainty honestly. Third, generic communication. Different customer segments need different levels of detail and support. Enterprise customers often want deeper technical transparency than smaller customers. And then fourth, neglecting internal communication. Employees are a part of your communication ecosystem. If they are confused, external communication becomes inconsistently immediately. And fifth, overly corporate language. During crises, people want humanity, not PR jargon, not legal gymnastics, not emotionally empty statements. A human communication builds trust faster than a polished corporate messaging. How to measure your crisis communication success then? You can track, for example, response speed, customer engagement, open rates, website traffic, sentiment, media coverage, support ticket patterns, customer retention, and stakeholder feedback. But qualitative feedback matters too. Did customers feel informed? Did employees feel aligned? Did partners feel supported? And did stakeholders trust the communication? Because successful crisis communication is not about avoiding criticism entirely. It's about preserving trust through transparency and action. You need to understand this to future-proof your crisis communication. It is never finished because technology changes, regulations evolve, customer expectations increase, threats become more complex. All this means that your strategy must evolve too. Review it regularly, run simulations, update response procedures, train teams, audit tools, and improve continuously. Because when the real crisis happens, preparation becomes your biggest competitive advantage. Crises are unavoidable. Every company will eventually face difficult moments. The difference is not whether a crisis happens, but how organization responds when it does. People will not expect perfection from you, but they will expect honesty, transparency, empathy, and action. This is where those 4 A's matter. You have acknowledgement, you have accountability, you have an apology, and you have action. Because ultimately, crisis communication is not really about protecting your brand, it is about protecting trust. And in B2B technology, it is everything. I wrote a blog post about it. The link is in the description. That is all from me now. Bye.